podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the premier radio networks on Sunday, September 19th, 2021. This is episode 1830. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Worldwide Technology and Dell Technologies. With an innovative culture, thousands of IT engineers, application developers, unmatched labs, and integration centers for testing and deploying technology at scale, WWT helps customers bridge the gap between strategy and execution. To learn more about WWT, visit wwt.com/twit. And by AT&T. If there are friends and family members you haven't talked to in a while, don't worry. It's never too late to reconnect. To help, AT&T is offering deals on the latest smartphones. It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving new and existing customers their best deals on every smartphone, even the latest ones. Restrictions and exceptions may apply. Visit att.com for details. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Oh, yes, it's time. It's time to talk computers and the internet and home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches. Car guy Sam Abuelsamid coming up to talk car tech, digital photography guru Chris Marquardt. Does he have the week off? I think he might have the week off this week, actually. But I know Rod Pyle will be here, space guy, and I know what he'll be talking about. The very inspiring Inspiration 4, all 4 civilian astronauts, space tourists, some might call them, landed safely yesterday, concluding that amazing 3-day orbital journey around the Earth. First time ever, all civilians, no astronauts, no trained people, really all space tourists were up there in the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule, a SpaceX launch. Now, they weren't completely tyros. Inspiration 4 is captain, and the billionaire who paid for the trip was, in fact, a very accomplished pilot, civilian pilot, but a pilot with thousands of hours under his belt, including in fighter jets. In fact, his name is Jared Isaacson. He founded a company I'd never heard of, Shift4 Payments, but I think it was, I would not have heard of it because it was a back-end system for credit card payments, but did okay on that. Started it when he was 16 in his basement, built it into an industry-leading payments technology company, publicly held. Took some of that money, bought 40 fighter jets, and created the Black Diamond Jet Team, in which he flies over 100 air shows, all of them for charity. And in fact, this flight was for charity, raised, I think with Elon throwing in another $50 million, I think it made its goal of $200 million for St. Jude. So that's the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So that's really amazing. You know, it's good to do that so then you don't feel like it's just, well, it's just some rich guys flying around. He also picked a crew of not rich people, and they're great. I have to say, if you haven't seen the documentary Countdown on Netflix, you could watch it. Haley Arsenault, who's 29, she was a St. Jude patient. Now she's a physician's assistant at St. Jude's. Chris Sombrosky, who was in the Air Force, he maintained ICBMs, was deployed in Iraq. Family Guy, was a space camp counselor, so he loves space. And he was pretty gobsmacked when they called him up, said, you won the raffle. Remember the Super Bowl ad from last year where they were saying, contribute to St. Jude's and you could be in the raffle? He was in it. He contributed and he won. And then finally, Dr. Cyan Proctor, the 4th African-American woman to fly into space. She's a geologist. All 4 came home safely, and if you watch the video of them getting off, looked like they had had a pretty darn good time. There's a ride. So, people making a big deal about it. I think it's a more important step forward than Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson going, suborbital and getting their astronauts' wings. This is a big deal. These are four basically non-astronauts flying. It's a kind of space tourism. They don't say what the bill was, but I think Jared Isaacson paid $50 million to do it. Anyway, congratulations to all. Everybody got home safe and sound. I think it's pretty darn cool. So I'm sure Rod will talk about that. I hope I haven't stolen his thunder in hour 3 of the show. This week, Apple had a big event. Nothing much to report, honestly. New iPads, an iPad base model, the $329 base model, the iPad mini. New Apple iPhones, the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 mini, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. None of which are dramatically improved over the iPhone 12. If you have a 12 or even 11, you're probably fine. You probably don't need to upgrade to the 13. I'm not going to. For the first time in years, I'm not going to. It's like, maybe the first time ever. I think I've never skipped an iPhone. But this time I just feel like I already have it. It's called the 12, 10% faster. The only big improvement in the new iPhone is better battery life. And then they also announced the new Apple Watch, but then said, but you can't get it. Here's what it's going to be, but you can't get it. That has exactly the same processor, just a little bit bigger screen, maybe a little bit bigger battery. Not much difference. I won't be getting that either. Now, this week, Microsoft has an event on Wednesday morning. It's a Surface event, a Surface hardware event. These are Windows machines. This is going to be the lead up to the launch of Windows 11, which is October 5th. I generally don't recommend the Surface machines, not because they're not okay. They're okay. They're a little overpriced. I like Dell and Lenovo and HP, maybe a little bit better, but they're nice. The people who like them. The Surface Pro 8 will be updated. The Surface Go 3, we expect a newly designed Surface Book, which will, I think, they say, no longer have the detachable screen, which is weird. And, how does it distinct from the laptop then? I don't know. A Surface Pro X, and probably the new phone, a Surface Duo, successor to last year's dual-screen book form phone. It's kind of cool. I bought one, but I didn't keep it because I thought, well, I don't know. This isn't really that good. But maybe the second one might be better. Rumors already, leaks from a Chinese retailer who accidentally posted a picture of the Surface Pro 8. Windows 11, finally Thunderbolt on the thing, thank goodness. That was really missing. Replaceable hard drives. And most importantly, I think a very nice 13-inch, 120 hertz, high refresh rate, narrow border screen. Anyway, now that you've heard it all, you can skip the event if you want. All of this is rumor. We don't know for sure, but I think a pretty good rumor. Pretty solid. That's what we'll see on Wednesday. Will we see anything else? I don't know. U.S. government has said we are going to get serious about ransomware. It's about time. Pretty serious already. If you're a business, you're probably running scared. The Biden administration preparing an array of actions, according to the Wall Street Journal, including sanctions to make it harder for hackers to use Bitcoin and other digital currencies to profit from their ransomware attacks. This is kind of a time-honored way of shutting down illegal activity. You go to the payment processors and you say, "Yeah, you better not, you better not cash that check." Later this year, according to the Journal, expected new anti-money laundering and terror finance rules will seek to limit the use of cryptocurrency as a payment mechanism. But, that's really what made ransomware take off. The earliest days of ransomware, I don't even know if you remember, a couple of years ago, they would say, go to 7-Eleven and buy some money coupons and send them to us because they needed an anonymous way to pay, right? But with the rise of Bitcoin, that was kind of the perfect way to ask for ransomware. And as more and more people understood Bitcoin, in the early days, the poor ransomware guys had to explain, now this is Bitcoin, here's how you get it, here's where you send it, here's how it works. Now they don't have to do that anymore. Everybody understands. So go after the Bitcoin exchanges. That makes sense. We'll see, we'll see. We'll see what they do. Because this is not easy. This is not easy, but we got to do something. What a mess. Just something like a ransomware attack every 11 seconds now, according to Barracuda. Every 11 seconds. Criminally. According to my grandmother. Criminally. 8888 Ask Leo, that's my phone number if you want to call and talk about tech. I'd love to do that with you. 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada outside that area. Yes, you can still call, but you probably should use Skype out or something so it doesn't cost you anything. The website where we put everything I talk about, links and information and answers to questions, is free. It's no sign up. It's available to all at techguylabs.com. James DeRuvo, our scribe, is writing everything down as I speak. He'll put it all up there, techguylabs.com. Also, after the fact, audio and video from the show, in case you miss an episode, we put the podcast up there as well. This is episode 1830 in a continuing effort to save the world, one computer at a time. Hello, Kim Schaffer, phone angel.
Hello, and a happy Sunday to you.
Don't you hate it when you hear that on the phone? I haven't heard it in years.
Did I have fat fingers?
No, that. Do-do-do.
Oh. No.
You cannot.
Yeah.
We're all going to hear it soon.
That would be a dial phone, wouldn't it?
Well, like a landline. Yeah. Because I don't think do you hear it? Maybe you hear it on cell phones. I don't know. I don't make calls anymore.
Yeah, well, neither do I.
So I wouldn't know. You will hear it starting soon if you don't dial the area code, even on local numbers.
Oh, I thought they started that years ago.
In some jurisdictions.
Like here, I think our
in some jurisdictions you have to, but in many places in the country you still could dial 7. In fact, there's some you could dial 4. But the FCC, beginning next month, is going to make you dial all 10. There are 82 area codes in 35 states that use 988 as their local exchange and allow 7-digit dialing. The problem is 988 next year is going to be a suicide prevention lifeline.
Oh.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
3 digits, easy to remember. But in order to implement that, the FCC has to get people off the 988 exchange. Well, they have to make them dial an area code. So the North American Numbering Plan Administrator, did you know there was such a person? No. It's hard to get that on a business card. Has put out a list of states. I'll put a link in the show notes to it where, well, it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to have to do 10 digits.
I'm glad I don't use the phone for anything that...
Nobody under 70
phone.
uses phones anymore.
I don't use the phone as a phone.
Who uses phones?
I use the phone as a computer.
Does anybody use phones?
No.
Well, somebody used a phone to call you. Who should I talk to?
Yes, let's go to Fun Mikester in San Diego.
Fun Mikester.
Fun Mikester.
This talk radio may be the last place people still use phones. Wouldn't that be interesting if we were the kind of the end of the line for calling people?
Yeah.
I still call my mom once a week, but I don't use a phone. I use FaceTime.
Oh, see, I hate when people FaceTime me because I'm not prepared for that.
Well, Mom does that too. She says, give me 5 minutes. I got to put on my face. I said, Mom, you're 88. I know what your face looks like. It's okay. Hello, Fun Mikester, or is it Mixter?
Fun Mikester.
Hey, Fun Mikester.
That is me, sir. How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
Very excited to talk to you. As they say, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, it's about time. I've been waiting for you to call.
Well, there's only one and only Funmeister, but I'm here for you.
I will remember you from now on.
That will be sure.
What's going on in Funmeister's life?
Well, you know what? I just got a new computer.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm switching out of my old Gateway that's 10 years old. I refer to it as East German Nazi World War II surplus computer. Yeah, Gateways were, they got bought, but in the original days of the Gateway, they were kind of the less expensive PC. But I had one. A lot of people had one because they were inexpensive. Uh-huh.
They were used to be Gateway 2000.
Yeah, I remember those old days.
Then Acer bought them. Actually, it went through a couple of hands before Acer got them, I think. But Acer owns them now, and they make good computers. So you're getting another one, or what are you getting?
Well, here's what I got. My old one is like 10 years old, and it's 6 gigabits of memory, i3 processor, and yada, yada, yada. Very old, takes about 10 minutes to boot up. And I was searching around. I actually, conversely, found a new gateway at Walmart. That's an i5, 16 gigabits of RAM, 256 gigabits of solid-state drive, and it just boots up like lightning.
Oh, yeah. SSDs are the biggest improvement to PCs in years. I mean, it really, even more important than the processor speed now is that fast, solid-state hard drive instead of a spinning drive. So, highly recommended. Sounds like a nice machine.
I'm looking forward to using it. So my question is about moving the data over. I've been doing some research, and I've kind of settled on 2 different ones, and I want your advice if you'd have to give it to me.
Okay.
The one is Fast Move.
Okay.
And the other one is PC Mover by Laplink, and then they say that PC Mover by Laplink is endorsed by, recommended by Microsoft. So what's your feeling there, sir?
That's interesting that they say we're recommended by Microsoft, because Microsoft has their own solution.
Okay.
So,
or whatever you think is the best. I'd sure like to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these third-party programs probably try to move your programs over. Do they? Because that's a bad idea.
My knowledge that I understand is that maybe your chat room might be able to tell you too, but it's my understanding that the PC Mover moves your whole computer.
Yeah, and that's not what you want.
Okay.
Because the only thing you want is your data, the stuff you made. It's the same stuff you back up. It's the stuff you made. Because you want to install, if 11-year-old applications don't belong on your brand new computer, even if you've been updating the applications, it's my strong suggestion that you install those from scratch. Everything will work just better. Same thing, you don't want to bring old Windows settings and files and registry files over. Ick. You don't want to bring DLLs that were installed with older programs over. They're just going to cause compatibility issues. So the by far best way to set up that new computer, and it gives you a little kind of boost, is to back up just your data. Yeah, I hope you're already backing up, but you'll see in your, your profile, whatever you use to log in, there's a whole folder of stuff. Back that up. All the stuff you made is kind of the rule of thumb. The stuff that's unique to you, back that up. In fact, this is a good opportunity to get an external drive so you have a backup, a local backup drive. Just, you get a cheap USB, you go back to Walmart, get a cheap USB. It can be a spinning drive, doesn't have to be fast. Bigger than your internal drive, so 512, say. Back everything up to that, then plug it into the new computer and import it, and leave it at that. Yes, it means you got to do more setting up. You got to install those programs. You got to, set everything up. But you'll be grateful in the long run. It'll be much better. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Ba-ba-dee-da-do. Yeah, I mean, it's a recipe for disaster to try to do that with a one of these. I don't think you need these tools. This is a good article that you found from Galen Grumman at Computer World, how to migrate to a new Windows PC. We'll put that in the show notes. I honestly don't think you need a program to do it. I would just follow these instructions. It's pretty straightforward. He actually has some other kind of cool ways to do it. He does mention PC Mover and all that, but honestly, I think that's not a great idea. I actually prefer doing it by hand. It's time for our automotive expert, the technology of cars, with Sam Abuelsamid at Guidehouse Insights. He's a principal researcher there. He's also a podcaster at wheelbearings.media. We're going to talk about a new technology possibly for self-driving cars in a second. Before we do, I wanted to get your comment. Elon Musk has tweeted that people who paid $10,000 for the full self-driving software on their Teslas can press a button on the screen that says, I want to be in the beta, and then they will turn on their insurance calculator built into the Tesla and watch you drive for a week to make sure that you are a safe driver before they will give you the $10,000 software you paid for. I see the facepalm. Did I get that right? Is that actually what they're doing? Will you get it anyway eventually, or is this just to get into the beta? Or
so what they've done, Tesla in California at least offers insurance. They don't actually underwrite the insurance. They're basically just reselling insurance from another company, because a lot of insurance companies have raised the premiums quite a bit on Tesla vehicles.
Yeah, I was mad when I got my Tesla. So high. Yeah, I was mad. The insurance was high. Yeah. So what they're doing, they have a behavior model that's built into the car, and a lot of vehicles have this. It's not usually built into the vehicle itself, but what they do is, or same thing happens if you like Progressive Insurance and a lot of other insurance companies, you can get discounts if you agree to share information about your driving behavior, and they'll give you a little OBD2 dongle you plug in. Yeah.
And some newer models now, they're actually automakers have done deals directly with insurance companies to, if you opt in, you can share your driving data, and so it keeps track of how fast you drive, how fast you accelerate, how hard you hit the brakes, and it's looking for risky behaviors. Yeah. So it's trying to judge your behavior. Yeah. And that's all the Tesla's done here is they've built the same kind of model into the Teslas. So if you're using Tesla insurance, it uses that model to judge, if your driving behavior is risky. They want to use this same thing to decide which drivers to allow to have access to the full self-driving beta. Frankly, I don't think any Tesla drivers should be getting access to this beta right now.
Good enough drivers.
If you have watched any of the videos that have been posted online, even of the very latest version 10 beta that they pushed out a week or so ago, this system is nowhere near ready for regular people to be testing it.
It's not really full self-driving.
This is something that should be tested.
It
should be tested by the engineers.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be given to customers yet.
When we had the Model X, my wife always said, "This car is a beta," and I said, "Yeah, I love it because I want to use the latest greatest." She says, "I don't want to drive a beta vehicle." That's why we got the Ford instead. So I just thought I'd ask you about that. Now, you also have a new product. You just wrote a piece on it called the Light. What is that?
So Light is a company that first popped up a few years ago with a funky camera that had 16 sensors on the back.
I remember that. It was like a camera phone that looked like a fly. It had all the...
Yeah, well, the camera didn't go anywhere, but some of the software technology from that, they've pivoted, and they're taking some of the software ideas, which is based on building depth maps using multiple cameras that are separated, so you get parallax, just like our human eyes. That's how we have depth perception, because our eyes are focused and are looking in the same direction, but they're separated apart, and they each have a slightly different point of view, and then our brains take that and judge, determine the distance to an object. So you can do the same thing.
What these smart cars, self-driving cars, use LiDAR for, right? They make a 3D image of the... Yes.
And, but LiDAR is still fairly expensive. Cameras, you can get these camera sensors for, under $10. And they're... a lot of cars, most new cars have cameras on them, but they usually have one forward-facing camera. Or in the case of Tesla and a couple of others, they might have a trifocal camera system, but the cameras are clustered together, so they're different focal lengths. And to use that to do depth measurement, you have to use machine learning, which is inherently problematic for something like this, because you've basically got to guess what it is. You've got to figure out what it is you're looking at first, and then guess at how big that thing is. And then from knowing that, you can see, okay, how many pixels is this making up, and then you can estimate the distance. Well, that's not a very reliable solution. Instead, if you have multiple cameras that are facing the same direction, they're looking at the same object from slightly different points of view, you can actually use basic trigonometry to figure out exactly how far away that object is based on the offset.
Just as we do with our eyes a few inches apart. How far apart are the light cameras?
On their system, they're actually using 3 cameras, one in the center and one at each corner of the windshield. Okay. So basically about more than 3 feet away, 3 feet apart. Yeah. And with that, you can get fairly accurate measurements out to 1,000 meters.
Wow, a kilometer.
With the camera. Yeah.
That's a long way.
So it is. And the other thing that they do is digital cameras typically have an infrared filter on them because the sensors, the imaging sensors can capture near infrared light, which is above 700 nanometers. It's outside of the visible spectrum, so our eyes can't see it. So they usually put a filter in there to filter that out so that you get images that look like what our eyes see. But for something like this, where you don't actually need the images, we're not going to be looking at these, you can take off that filter and now you can use those to capture that extra imagery that is things that so you can basically see more and almost see in the dark and see through fog and things like that our eyes can't see. So now you can combine that, using that physics-based approach to depth measurement and also being able to see in low light conditions. And it's a great either by itself as part of a driver assist system or in more advanced systems that include radar and LiDAR, it can be a great complement to those two because as your systems get more advanced, you want to have redundancy. You want to have multiple ways of measuring that, looking at both active and passive sensors that are looking at the same thing so you can cross-check each other and verify because sometimes sensors get out of whack. And so you want to have that redundancy in there for extra safety.
So do these new technologies mean that we will be getting fully self-driving vehicles in the near future, or is this still pretty far off?
I wouldn't count on that, not in the next 5 to 8 years at least. But, really? Wow. But what we will have is driver assist systems that are much more capable, much more robust. Because the systems we have on the road today, they're limited in their capability for things like automatic emergency braking. If somebody runs out in front of you, or there's a crash, they have limited capability to respond to that.
That's such a great feature, whether you're going forward or backing up. Maybe even more important when you're backing up. That's such a great feature. I hope all new cars have something like that.
And I mean everything's getting at least the most basic automatic emergency braking, but this will make those systems. This can make those systems much more robust and much safer, especially in low light conditions and bad weather conditions. These systems will be a lot better.
Is there a risk of? Go ahead.
I dropped a link in the chat to the white paper I wrote about sensing. It talks all about, and it's, I tried to write it in a way that it's accessible to everybody, not just engineers, to explain how all these different kinds of sensors work.
Cool. We'll put that in the show notes at techguylabs.com. Wheel Bearings is the name of Sam's podcast, wheelbearings.media. He's a principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, and he's our tech guy for cars. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It does seem like this is not moving along as quickly as everybody thought it would.
No, it's not. But the upside is that a lot of the technologies that have been developed are starting to make their way down. I'm actually doing a talk at a conference this week about how things like imaging radar and LiDAR technology are making their way down into level 2 and level 3 automation system, partial automation system.
I just want to assist.
Make vehicles safer.
I'm not looking for self-driving, really. I just want to assist. Although I'm looking forward to this Blue Cruise because it would be nice to take my hand off the wheel on the highway.
Yeah, anyway. And for earlier this week, there's a LiDAR company in San Jose called Septon that filed their paperwork to go public through a SPAC transaction. And I've talked to them on a fairly regular basis, and one of the things they had told me some months ago was that they actually had a design win, a contract to supply a top 5 automotive company with their LiDAR starting in 2023, but they couldn't say who it was at the time. But now, as part of their SEC filing for going public, they revealed that it's in fact General Motors. So General Motors, their next generation after Super Cruise coming in 2023 is something called Ultra Cruise, which will take it off of just highways into other kinds of roads. And Ultra Cruise is going to include LiDAR. And it's going to use Cepton's LiDAR for at least the first generation of it.
Neat.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Really cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to stick around and continue talking about cars?
I can do that.
Okay. You have 2 minutes now, and we'll put you up on the top of the hour, too.
All right. So, yeah, I definitely agree with Keith 512. A self-driving car with lots of seating is, in fact, called a bus. They exist today. They're very cost-effective, generally very safe.
Or a train.
They work really, really well.
I'm a
trains,
big
subway,
fan of trains. Yeah.
In general, is a great solution, especially if you live in a city. John is asking which ones are the passive sensors. So basically, you can think of cameras as passive sensors. The difference between active sensors and passive sensors is active sensors send out a signal, some sort of radiation signal that is reflected back and then read. So radar sends out a radio frequency signal. LiDAR sends out a light, a infrared light signal somewhere either in the 900 nanometer or 1300 to 1500 nanometer spectrum, which is beyond line of sight. It's beyond visible light, but they send out that signal and measure the reflection back. Ultrasonic sensors are another one. Those little dots you see on your car for parking assist. Those are active sensors because they send out a signal. And then passive sensors are ones that are just reading ambient radiation. So RGB cameras, visible light cameras, infrared cameras, thermal imaging sensors, like night vision cameras. They're just reading the passive radiation that's coming back. And I will continue to, I'll explain more about that during the next break. But basically, each one has some advantages and disadvantages to them. But it's best to have a mix of both kinds. And with 13 seconds left, I will give it back to Leo.
Thanks, Sam. We'll talk in a few. The Tech Eye Podcast brought to you this week by Worldwide Technology and Dell Technologies, WWT. We love these guys. Went out there in March of 2020, saw the Advanced Technology Center. Wow, is that cool. The ATC, they call it. It's a research and testing lab that brings together equipment, enterprise technology from all the big OEMs, more than $500 million in equipment invested in the lab. WWT's engineers use it to do proofs of concept, to set up, to prepare, to learn about the technologies that their customers are going to use. But you can also use it. The lab is open to members of the ATC platform, which can be you. I'll give you the address in just a second. So you can go in, and there are hundreds of on-demand and schedulable labs with all kinds of enterprise technology. A great way to learn about the technology before you buy. Things like Dell's VxRail Cyber Recover solutions, Power Store, Power Flex, Power Scale, Power Max. They got all the Dell stuff, Unity, Data Protection Central, IDPA. These labs represent the newest advances in primary storage. Other labs in the ATC cover multi-cloud architectures, security, networking, primary and secondary storage, data analytics and AI, DevOps, everything. WWT is an amazing resource for anybody who uses enterprise technology, because they're business people and they understand and they focus on strategy, and technology is only there to execute your strategy. And they know that. So strategy first, then execution. And of course, after sales support is second to none. They're the best. And while you're at the ATC platform checking it out, any member of the ATC platform can use it any time of the day or night, 365 days a year. Check out WWT's events and communities more places you can learn about technology trends, hear the latest research and insights from their experts. Whatever your business needs, Worldwide Technology can deliver scalable, tried and tested, tailored solutions. WWT brings strategy and execution together to make that new world happen. To learn more about WWT, the ATC, to get access to all the free resources, I told you I'd tell you how. It's simple. WWT.com/twit. Create that free account right there on the ATC platform. WWT.com/twit. Worldwide Technologies. We thank him so much for supporting the Tech Guy Show. Thank you for supporting it by using that address, WWT.com/twit. Now back to the show. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number if you want to talk tech. Dick's on the line from Murrieta, California. Hello, Dick. Hello, sir.
Hello there, Leo.
Welcome.
Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
I have a unique situation. I have a wife with beginning of stages of dementia, Alzheimer's.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's life. She has a service dog, which is a fantastic animal.
Mm-hmm.
And my problem is that with the Find My Phone or the 360 app, I get a general area, like she's in Macy's or the south end of the mall, and I can't find her.
Yes.
This gal is so good that if you're in like a store and I turn to do something and I turn back, she's gone. For being old, she's fast. The thing is,
she knows how to shop. That's why.
Well, yeah, true. And the thing is, when she has the dog, the dog is a fantastic animal. Absolutely fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
If I can't find her, all I do is give a loud whistle.
Oh, neat.
Sit wherever she is, and we'll give an intermittent bark.
Isn't that great?
Wait for a little bit and bark. Or it's like I have a large bit of property with a lot of brush and trails, and if the dog's with me and I can't find her, I go, where's find Mom? And she'll do the same thing. She'll run over, bark, sit, and bark. If she starts to move, she'll go 6 feet or whatever, sit in front of her and bark at her. But the problem I have is, like in the mall and the store managers and people kind of...
They don't like it when you give those loud whistles.
Sit, I give a loud whistle, and the dog sits and starts this intermittent bark.
Right.
So I'm trying to find is an app that would locate her within 10 feet, 6 feet, 3 feet, whatever. So she has an Apple
iPhone
watch and an Apple iPhone.
Oh, good.
I have an Apple phone, and I've talked to several people, but nobody can give me a app or anything that will pinpoint her, more or less.
Yeah, the problem is indoors. You would be able to do it pretty well if she were outdoors using GPS, but GPS doesn't work indoors. And malls are a really challenging problem. So, nothing. I don't think there's any app that will use the iPhone to do this. However, there are a variety of devices that...
Well, see, that's the trick. She's aware of devices, if you know what I mean.
Well, you mean she'll get rid of it? Is she trying to lose you?
Yeah, she'll ditch it. I mean, I'm not taking that thing.
I shouldn't laugh, but she sounds pretty ornery.
That's the other part. But the point.
You're a good husband, I got to say, Dick. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, because like a simple trip to the market for pick up a couple things turns into a half-hour search in addition to picking up. Well,
and it's going to get worse, unfortunately, not better.
Yeah,
and it gets to be very serious.
If someone in the world out there could get creative.
Well, there are a lot of trackers that you would carry, like a key fob, that will do it. Or would she be if you didn't tell her what it was, could she wear a pendant that looks like a medic alert, that kind of thing?
Oh, Lord, you're talking a woman here. It doesn't matter clothes.
She's got to look good, huh? Oh, yeah. I'm going to have the same problem with my wife. I know exactly what you mean. Can you put a key fob on her keys and just not tell her it's a locating device?
See, that's the trick. Sometimes she takes a purse. Sometimes she doesn't take a purse. So
there are even insoles, because this is, by the way, Dick, I'm being facetious, but honestly, it's a very serious issue. I understand, and I know this is really hard on you and the family. But there are a lot of solutions because this is such a common problem. There's actually a GPS shoe insole that you could put in the shoe that most people wouldn't even know it's there. I mean, there are solutions. I'll put some links at our website, techguylabs.com, to some articles for different trackers. But she carries the phone and she has a watch. So it would be nice if that would work better. No GPS is going to work very well in a mall.
Yeah.
And Apple makes these smart tags, but I have to tell you, having used these for a while, if she gets this works. Okay, so this might be the best solution, the smart tag. It's about a quarter, size of a quarter. It could be a keychain. It could be in her pocket. I don't know if she'll throw these away too, but these use not GPS, but Bluetooth. And they will use the smartphones, the iPhones of other people in the area. So chances are, as she's wandering around in the mall, there are other people around. And without anybody doing anything, their phone will note her location and send it back to you. So that might be, this is something Apple offers. It's called AirTags. They're about $30 each. They will work with her existing devices, which is nice. There is an app, and you could put the AirTag on your app in the Find My if you have an iPhone. And in Find My, there's now a Devices tab that will show her AirTag.
The interesting part about this, this could be a tremendous aid, not only just for me, but for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And even for those folks that have children,
or even dogs, because you could put it on a collar.
They do have a collar for a dog.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is the limit of with GPS inside. You got to have line of sight to the satellite, and you can't in your parking garage, indoors. If she's wandering around outside, no problem. But if you're in a mall trying to find her, then you're going to need a solution kind of like this that will work, because everybody has iPhones now.
Yeah.
In a way, everybody's helping you find her. And what it will do is show it on a map. The problem is the map of the mall may not be. Apple's working on this, by the way, getting indoor maps. I mean, it might be worth a try anyway. Now the problem is you're going to have to get her to carry it. Yeah,
see, because like the biggest problem I have is, say she's in Macy's. What floor is she on? Which department?
Exactly.
And the loud whistle. You know, I'm on the second floor. She's on the first floor. I hear the bark. I go down.
I love it that service dog responds to that. Isn't that great? That
she is
so
a tremendous
great.
Animal.
Oh yeah.
She can actually pick up on a dizzy spell before she has it.
Yeah, they can smell it.
I don't know what they do.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's fantastic.
I'm so glad you have her, or the dog. I mean, not your wife.
Well, I got both of them.
That's a really good solution. Boy, it's an interesting question. I don't know if AirTags are going to be the ultimate solution for you. Apple kind of proposed that it would be, but my experience has been it's not perfect. It's hard. I've lost my keys and not been able to find them, even with the AirTags. In theory, you can aim the iPhone once it knows where the AirTag is, you'll see it on a map, and as you get closer, you can actually use the iPhone as a finder. It'll say no, left, right. But the different floors and stuff might be a little bit tricky.
I don't know. I'll try it.
It's worth it. It's worth a try, and we'll put this link to an article about other kinds of trackers. This is a universal issue.
It is.
Yeah.
We had a lost boy up here who literally hid from the searchers. Every time a searcher came out, he had a problem, and he'd hear these people, and he'd hide. And it took 2 days to find him, but
holy cow!
It was a dog that found him.
Yeah.
But the people were scaring him, and he'd hide.
Oh,
so,
man!
It's a universal problem, and it's a worldwide problem, and I don't know why somebody can't come up with all the technology.
Well, there is some stuff out there. The chat room is telling me take a look at the Smart Compass. It's at smartcompass.co, not C-O-M, but C-O. It's designed to work up to 3 miles, even indoors. So this is interesting. It's kind of big though, and she's going to know that's what it is. Unfortunately, so that's the rub. You know, if she's not willing to cooperate, that definitely adds to the difficulty. Hey, you're a good husband. I hope we can find something to help you out on this one. You know, this is something I wish I had a better answer for you, but there are a lot of good choices. Not good, but choices out there anyway. And we'll put that article at techguylabs.com. Sam, you got 8.5 just for you.
All right. So to follow up on some commentary in the chat about passive versus active sensors. So active sensors, as I said, are sensors that send out a signal and look for a reflection. Passive sensors are just picking up whatever's ambient, so reflected light or infrared, and that can be in the visible light spectrum, which is between about 300 and 700 nanometers, or even in the infrared spectrum from 700 nanometers on up to about 1500 nanometers, and ideally, you'd like to have a combination of both. The problem with passive sensors are very inexpensive compared to active sensors, because you don't need something to generate a signal like a laser or a radio transmitter for radar. But you don't know where that signal you're picking up is coming from. You don't know what the source is. Whereas with an active sensor, when you send out an RF signal, a radio frequency signal, or a laser pulse, a light pulse, you know when it left, you know when it came back, and you know how fast that signal travels. And because you know those things, you can calculate the exact distance from where you started to till the time it came back, and then from that you can also figure out things like speed and other things. But with passive sensors, you don't have that unless you combine multiple passive sensors together. So this is what I was talking about with light. By taking two cameras that are spread apart but looking at the same object, you can see differences in the position of those objects, and with some basic trigonometry you can calculate, do a little Pythagoras theorem action there, and calculate the precise distance to that object relative to those two cameras. Some of the systems that are out on the market today, like Autopilot, or what BMW has on some of their cars, use a trifocal camera. The cameras are all together and they're different focal lengths, and so you can't really, you have to basically guess at how far away something is by making a judgment call as to how big that object that you're seeing is, how many pixels in your image it takes up. But if you guess wrong, and this is one of the things I talk about in the paper, you could have two vehicles, you could have two vans, for example, that are very different sizes, and your distance calculation is going to be very wrong if you guess the wrong type of van. So having a system that's more deterministic rather than probabilistic, like machine learning, gives you more accurate measurement to how far away the object is. The other thing that's important as well is not just how far away the object is as a whole, but as you get into more automated driving, you have to predict what those objects are going to do. So you need to have accurate measurement of the angle of that object, so you can make a prediction. So if there's a car in the lane next to you, up ahead, a couple hundred feet ahead of you, you have to see, okay, is that car parallel to me? Is it parallel to the lane, or is it starting to turn towards my lane, or the pedestrian? And this is where you need really precise measurement of more than just one spot on that target. And this is where something like the light system or like LiDAR can be very beneficial. So a mix of active and passive sensors are really good to get a robust calculation of where something is. And also even passive sensors like cameras, if they are if they can see in the infrared spectrum, you can see through things like fog and rain, and still be able to see objects that are there or see pedestrians, which makes it much more valuable in poor weather conditions and also in low light conditions. But you do have to keep the area in front of the sensor clean. So you don't want things like salt spray or snow or slush building up on there, or dust or dirt. So it's important to have them within an area where they can be kept clean. Tech Dyno, the proximity sensors, those are ultrasonic sensors. Those are, again, very low cost sensors. Those are probably the cheapest active sensors you can get, but they're very imprecise. They can't really tell where an object is, only that it's within a certain distance from the sensor. So they're very low resolution and also very short range. They're only good to within about 15 to 20 feet. Beyond that, they can't really see anything. But they do have a place. There's a place in the spectrum. You need something from very short range to very long range to be able to have safe driver assist and automated driving systems. Also, earlier on in the chat before my first segment, somebody brought up mini cars. They brought up the Hyundai Casper, which came out this week overseas. It's a very compact crossover utility vehicle. It would be cool to have more cars like that in the U.S. market. Unfortunately, U.S. consumers have shown no interest whatsoever, especially in recent years, in driving those kinds of cars. Most of these really small cars have gone away because there's just not enough demand for them. In a lot of other markets, especially in Asia and Europe, small cars are much more common. There's not as much space on the road, and consumers like to buy them. Here, about the last one we have is the Mini, which is about the smallest car you can get in the U.S. market right now.
Is that true?
It's also
is really that
pricey.
Small? Lisa is coming in the next few weeks. I didn't realize it's the same size as the i3, though, right?
No, it's actually a little smaller than the i3, I think.
Is it the same? Is it smaller than the
It's
Fiat?
definitely shorter. I'm not sure about the overall length. The overall length might be about the same as the i3.
Yeah.
But
how small is this Casper? Is it like a smart car?
Yeah. It's bigger than a Smart because it's actually a 4-seater.
Right.
I think John's got it up, or somebody's got it up on the screen there.
I put it up for you.
Yeah. So it's pretty small. But American consumers have just shown no interest in buying small cars.
Too small because all the other cars on the highway are big and they'll cream you.
Yeah. I mean, they're all built to the same. They're all built to the same occupant protection standards. So even something like a Mini, it's small, but it's got to meet the same crash safety standards. So if you get hit, you should still be relatively safe.
Physics still applies, right? I mean,
yeah, but think of it more like there's a good video that's online. I'll find it for next time of Mercedes doing a crash test a few years ago with a Smart and an E-Class, and the smaller, lighter car will basically bounce away from the big car
like a ping pong ball.
Yeah, basically, think of it like billiards.
Because I want Lisa to be safe in her Mini. She likes the little. She likes how little it is. She thinks that's.
I love small cars.
Yeah.
I think they're great.
You drive a Miata.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the Mini comes. It should be anytime in the next 3 weeks. I'll let you know.
All right.
Thanks, Sam. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Take care.
Talk to you next time.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. It's hour number 2 of the Tech Guy Show, where we talk about all those digital doohickeys, computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, I think he's taking the week off this week. I can't remember. Is he, John? Do you remember? I think he is. But we could talk about that. We could talk about smart vehicles. We could talk about space. Rod Pyle's coming up. We'll talk about the Inspiration 4. And I guess a new satellite going up for Elon Musk's Starlink, his satellite internet service, a new style satellite going up. My studio manager, John, is all excited about it. He says because the satellites have optical communication between satellites, a.k.a. space lasers. He gets very excited about space lasers. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. TechGuyLabs.com is the website. That's where all the links and show notes go. Richard on the line from West LA. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Leo. Good to talk again.
Thanks for calling. What can I do for you?
I'm having trouble printing email. I get maybe the left hand, this is vertical now, the left hand text, but the right hand text doesn't print.
So does it, on the piece of paper, is it that the text is going off the side of the piece of paper? Or
totally blank. I can't tell.
It's just blank. So it's not that the margins are too small.
I don't think so.
You have margins, but for some reason it gets to a point on the email and it just stops printing.
Yes.
Okay. So this goes back to an age-old feature that nobody uses anymore. Are you on Windows or Mac?
Windows 10.
Yeah. Generally, these days, when you print, if you're printing in the browser or an email program, it will take over the printing for you. But you actually want to go to the official printer's own print dialog, their print management interface. So when you do the print, look for a button that may say something like launch printer control panel or something like that. It may be in your, do you use the browser to do this, or are you using an email program like Outlook to do it? Gmail. Okay, so you're in the browser. So you might, I don't remember if Chrome has, or your browser has, a page setup. In the old days, all apps that printed they'd have a page setup which would take you to a dialog that's provided by the printer manufacturer. You want to get to that because in that dialog, there are lots of settings that will fix this. There are a couple of ways you can do it. For instance, one of the settings might be to print in landscape mode instead of portrait mode, wide instead of tall. Another setting might be shrink to fit. That's probably the one you want to look for, where it says, take the thing I'm trying to print and print it so that it fits on the page. It sounds to me like what's happening is it's printing as much as it can, but it can't fit it all on the page. So you want you want to get to the printer dialog, and that's where you'll be able to choose things like fit to page. You'll be able to choose the type of paper. Most of the time you don't see it anymore, but they kind of hide it. They feel like, well, people shouldn't need this. You just print. But you actually want to see the printing dialog. Is it the left side or the right side that you are missing?
The right side.
The right side. Because somebody's put an article here from Bleeping Computer about the left side. Oh, wait a minute. No, it says only prints left side. Ah.
That's me.
That's you. So you can do this. What browser do you use to get your email? Are you using Chrome or?
Chrome.
So the answer on this one is in Firefox, go to page setup and set the scale to shrink to fit, which is essentially what I said. I'm not sure what that would be in Chrome, but it'll be something like print setup in the Chrome file menu. Or, as I said, when you hit print, look for a button that says go to the printer setup dialog.
Okay, I actually called and spent a lot of time with an guy who seemed to know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
But he never did solve the problem.
Yeah. Did he do that? Did he do these? Did he do these things I'm describing?
No. That's why I'm very interested to hear what you have to say.
It's odd that he did not. What did he suggest?
He had me do a bunch of things which I thought were totally irrelevant. Like the nozzles and the...
No, yeah, okay.
Totally irrelevant.
There's nothing wrong with your printer. It's what's happening is the computer is telling the printer it's clipping it, in effect. It's clipping off because the printer can only print so wide, and the image that is being sent to it is wider than it can print. So it just cuts it off. And
I tried to get in touch with HP, the manufacturer of the laptop, but they were impossible to reach on Friday. I'm going to try them again tomorrow, but I'll listen to you. I've heard your suggestions, and I'll see if I can find that.
One more thing to try, and this is actually Gmail specific. Gmail also has, you can print from the browser, but Gmail also has its own print dialog. Are you using that to print, or are you using the browser's file menu to print? When you're in your Gmail at the top, there should be is it? I'm looking. Is it the gear? Is it the print? Is it the settings? Is it the printer icon? Let me go into a message because it'll be in the message. Yeah, there are 3 dots in the message. Nope, that's not. Yes, select print from the 3 dots.
Right.
And then you will get Google's version of this. Good Lord. So essentially, there's three competing entities here. There's your printer's own drivers and setup, your HP stuff. There's Windows' own simplified print menu, which is frankly not going to be good enough. And then, actually, there's 4 because there's a browser's print menu, and now there's also Gmail has a print menu. And you may just be print. Do you just click the print icon on the mail? Is that how you print?
Yes.
Yeah. So before you do that, do it from the 3 dots. There's also a print command there, and I think you're going to get a setup dialog there. You want to have, if you press the print button from the 3-dot menu in Gmail, you'll get a more elaborate choices. And in fact, it'll even show you what that email should look like. And at that point, shrink to fit or scale, or there'll be some buttons that you can try to get that printing to work.
You know, this has been strange because I never had the problem until about 3 weeks ago. And I didn't do anything that you just suggested because I didn't know anything about it. I normally just print this stuff out and it was fine.
I don't know why. Printing is such a fundamental part of computing, and yet it is probably the most finicky, tricky thing. And partly it's because you have all these different, entities weighing in. You have a printer driver, you have Windows, you have the browser, you have Gmail. They all have opinions about how that mail should be printed.
Yeah.
And you got to find the right spot to tell it. I think I would start with Gmail. Okay. Instead of clicking that little printer on the menu, on the message, click the 3 dots and then select the print item from that menu, and you should get then a much more elaborate informational dialogue, which will show you what it's going to look like. And now you can play with some settings and see if that fixes it.
That will be done this afternoon. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry I can't be more specific, but yeah, you're going to have to, at least you got a way to look. I can't believe they were working on the nozzles. Part of the problem with getting tech support, whether it's from, the customer service rep on the phone or me, it's a communication issue. Because we can't see what you're seeing. We don't really know exactly what you've done. So one of the most important skills, there's 2 skills that are so important in getting help. One is Google, learning how to search on Google for stuff. Because their answer is out there somewhere. Everybody's had your problem, no matter what the problem is. There's always somebody else who's put it up on a forum or put it in a blog post. You can find almost any answer to any question. If you just knew what question to ask, that's the problem. That's point one. The other one is being able to express to me or a customer service rep in a way that is useful what the problem is. I think what happened, Richard, is that the customer service rep, for whatever reason, might be because of how you described it, might just because he didn't understand, thinks there's something wrong with the printer. There's nothing wrong with the printer. The printer is following the instructions the computer is giving it. The problem is the instructions. And so, for some reason, he didn't get that, so he's trying to fix the nozzles. The problem is not the printer, I don't think. It's a software issue. Always challenging to communicate this stuff. I mean, honestly, in fact, if I have one skill honed over the last 15 years of helping people get their computer problems and printing problems solved, is kind of reading between the lines to try and understand it. Chat room's getting pretty good at that, too. They'll say, Leo, maybe he should press the 3 dots. Yes, the 3 dots. Yeah. I have the T-shirt here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, no, this is a different one. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number, if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion. If you hear something on the radio and you say, I know how to fix that, you can call 8888 Ask Leo. You could also use the website, techguylabs.com, and leave a comment there. All that's free. There's no charge. So that would be nice. You'd be helping somebody out. Tom on the line from Brentwood. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. I hope I communicate the question well because I've already tried the other alternative, Googling, and I can't get an answer.
Well, my job is to make sure to draw it out of you. So go ahead. Let's hear your question.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, when I want to use, just call this the phone call of annoying things about the iPhone.
Oh, there are many, believe me.
Yes. When I want to use the accessibility function to speak the screen,
yes,
I take my two fingers and I drag down from the top, and I would say 29 out of 30 times, all I succeed in doing is opening the control center.
Yeah.
Is there another way to access speak screen?
Yeah, I think there is. I'm trying to remember if it's you could probably ask Siri to do it, which is a long press on the screen on-off button, and then say, let me see if I can do it.
Well,
here.
I've got a 12 Pro, so no button.
Speak the screen. I don't know if that's to use speak screen. You'll need to turn it on in settings. Okay, so that she responded properly. Let me try it again. Speak screen. Sorry, there's nothing to read here. Yeah, that works. So you have, on all iPhones, there's a button for, sometimes they call it the on-off switch, except I don't like to call it that because it doesn't turn it on or off. It just turns the screen off or on. It locks it. So that button on the right. When you press and hold that, Siri pops up. Now, are you sighted or no?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Oh, you just wanted to talk to you. Are you lonely?
Yeah, well, I'm driving in the car. And
okay, perfect. Yeah, so this is a much better way to do it. A lot of things that you would want to do with a gesture, so forth, you can get Siri to do for you. So if I have let me open up a text message, for instance, here. Speak screen. And now she's going to speak it, I think. Hello, Siri. Oh, I have to turn up the volume.
Announced updated laptops.
Yeah.
Next month.
Yeah.
When they do, it'll be on its way to you, William Summerall. Thanks, Uncle Leo.
Boy,
I am so happy in New York.
He reads.
No pressure on the laptop.
He reads fast.
Technologically satisfied in the meantime. Love you.
So it's reading the text message. So that's another way to do it. The two fingers swipe down.
Message. Happy birthday.
That also works. Yeah, but you got to be careful because I can see what the problem is, which is if you go too far to the right, you get the control center. You go too far to the left, you get notifications. It's got to be right down the middle.
Your iMessage. Happy birthday.
Yeah. There's got to be an alternative.
Well, as I said, you can ask. Is your phone paired to your car?
No, I don't do that because that causes a whole other set of problems.
Yes, I know. Oh, I'm well aware of that. So one of the reasons I love Apple CarPlay is when I get a text message. Is it for text messages mostly that you want this to?
No, I want to be able to pull up Google
Okay.
articles and then have them read to me.
So once you've turned on spoken content, which includes speak selection, speak screen, so forth, you can ask Siri to speak the screen. You can say, here select text, hear the entire screen. You can say, here typing feedback, which is interesting. It'll actually talk to you as you're typing and say, what you're typing and what words it suggests for autocorrect. So I think that those are basically the two things. I actually wasn't aware of the swipe down from the middle. I really like that.
Content could be found on the screen.
That's pretty cool. Oh, I have it set for 1.3. That's why it's speaking so fast. I don't know when I set that, but that's why he's talking so fast.
Well, that's the other thing. The tortoise and the hare. It used to be. It seemed like it was sort of an infinite modification.
Yeah. Now it's just 1.5, 2. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They have. Yeah. They don't have a slider.
Another upgrade that's really a downgrade. But,
the thing to understand about Apple, and it can be very annoying, is in their opinion, it is better for them to be opinionated, to pick the way to do it, and and presume that most people will prefer that. They just want to they don't want to give you too many choices. It's exact opposite of Android, where you could choose everything. And so I think Apple knows its audience and feels like it's better to be opinionated, better for us to have, to direct the user. So there are, I'll put a link in the show notes to an iMore article on voice control, the various ways you can enable it. Basically, it's the gesture that you mentioned, swiping down from the middle. And you know what I do is if you look for the notch and try to get right down the middle there. It's probably hard to do it when you're driving, but it might be better to use Siri.
Yeah, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
While I'm complaining, I'm 6'4", my hands are pretty big. You know the alphabet that is along the right side of the screen next to your contacts?
Yeah. That's so tiny. I know.
I know. I mean,
and that's why I buy the biggest iPhone. Because that's, even on the biggest iPhone, that's tiny. Now, you can set the screen zoom to zoom in a little bit, which I do, or all the way. But yeah, there's no way you can hit that right letter. No, nobody can. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So I think I could probably do it. I didn't want to do it on the radio because I didn't want to trigger people's Siri. But let me try it.
right.
Let me try it. Hey, Siri. Speak screen.
Nixler alerts. Marin Sheriff.
Yeah, it's doing it. So you don't have to press that button. I press the button only so I don't. Now how do I stop? Oh, there. So I don't have to. So I don't have to say that. Hey, you know who on the radio.
There's no way that Siri would recognize to bypass speaking all the ads and things that are stuck in the middle of the article.
No, unfortunately, it's not that smart. You can say speak selection, but that would require fiddling with the phone, which I don't really recommend you do while you're driving. So you could select it. There are a number of different speak commands besides just speak screen. But hey, that works. At least you could say, hey, Siri, speak screen if you've got it enabled, and it'll do it.
I will give it a try. Thank you very much. And one final comment. This may not be possible, but people in the government, this whole problem with changing over to a 10-digit number because they're using the 988. How about they use a different number instead of 988?
I think you'd have to talk to the FCC. It's my guess that I'm going to bet that what they did is they went through all the possible numbers. Because most 3-digit numbers are probably exchanges somewhere. I guess they could have started with a 1. There may be a technical reason they have to or want to start with a 9. But I bet 900 through 999 are taken somewhere.
All taken.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Terrific. I've been listening to you for years. It's a real pleasure.
I'm so glad you called. It's actually a great question. And I did not know I could swipe down from the middle with 2 fingers. That's really good. Happy birthday. I'm going to do that from now on. That's great.
All right.
Stop, Siri. Stop. Stop. Stop.
When they do, it'll be
That's quite useful. But yeah, if you just say speak, hey Siri, speak screen. Oh yeah, they can't use 1 because it's a country code. That's right. There's probably a reason they use 9, but even in 2, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All of those are used in exchanges, right? So I bet you that's if I were the FCC, I would have attempted to pick one that would require the fewest disruptions. Although it doesn't really matter, does it? Because everybody has to use 10-digit now. So the Tech Guy Podcast brought to you by AT&T. If there are friends and family members you haven't talked to in a while, don't worry. It's never too late to reconnect. To help, AT&T is offering deals on the latest smartphones. It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving new and existing customers their best deals on every smartphone, even the latest ones. Restrictions and exceptions may apply. Visit att.com for details. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Let's move on here. Who's next? Richard in San Diego. It's Richard Day today. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Leo. Thanks for taking my call. Quick question. I use Google Mesh for Wi-Fi at home.
Okay.
And I was hoping to connect smart plug, and I'm finding that they're not connecting. I understand possibly Google Mesh Broadcast 2.4.
That's right. You nailed it. So, so those smart plugs need to do 2.4. And unfortunately, a lot of IoT devices are not smart enough to pick the right SSID. So your Google Mesh, like most routers these days, is dual band or probably tri-band, maybe dual band, but it does both 2.4 gigahertz, which is the old Wi-Fi, and the newer 5 gigahertz bands. Most IoT devices like 2.4 cannot work with 5, but not all of them can distinguish. So it's not at all unusual when you have an IoT device, it'll see the strongest signal, the 5G signal, try to attach to that, think it has successfully attached to that, but not work because it can't understand 5. So what you have to do is to turn off the 5 gigahertz radio. There's actually a number of workarounds to do this. One thing is to go far away. Now, this isn't going to work with a smart plug. I guess you could take your Wi-Fi router and move it far away. What you want to do is weaken the 5G signal because 5G doesn't travel as far as 2.4. So this is kind of a hack. But you can go far away, and then it will only see the 2.4. It'll join it, and then you can bring the Wi-Fi access point back. I am sure that well, I'm not sure. I would hope there's a setting in the Google Nest Wi-Fi to turn off the 5 gigahertz. That would be the easiest thing to do. If you could do that, it won't hurt anything initially, but it will. Then you can pair the smart plug and then turn it back on. Because once it's paired, the smart plug will continue to be on the proper frequency. It's just that initial pairing.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have a Google Wi-Fi app on my phone. I didn't see where there's a toggle to turn it off or on. But
no, in fact, I'm looking at Google support, and it doesn't look like there is a way. This is, this was a problem with the Eero as well, and the way Eero eventually put a switch in it because this is such a common problem. Gosh, the power cannot be adjusted and the radio cannot be disabled. So that's an issue.
Possibly try going far away. How far are we talking about?
Well, just keep trying. So the problem, the reason 5G is preferable in many cases is it's really good high speed, but as it's a higher frequency, it doesn't go through walls as well. So it may be sufficient just to go on the other side of the wall, plug your router in, pair it, because that wall might be enough, probably is enough to stop the 5G signal, but the 2.4 will go right through it.
I got you. Well, I'll try that.
That's a crazy workaround, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just looking at Google's support, and it says there is not a way to disable a 5 gigahertz radio, nor can its power be adjusted, which would be another way to do it. You're just stuck with that. So maybe call Google. I know with the Eero, I was able to call Eero and tell him this, and Eero said, okay, we're going to turn off the 5 gigahertz radio now. What? You can do that? Yeah, just now pair your device. Okay. Okay, it's paired. Okay, we're going to turn it back on. Maybe Google can do that.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that weird? These mesh systems can be, it's one of the advantages of mesh is that the home office can do some stuff with them. So,
okay, well,
might be worth a try.
I appreciate your help with that.
Somebody, that workaround is a crazy workaround, but in this case, I don't know. If you can't get Google to turn it off, just distance. I'm going to guess that newer IoT devices are going to start having 5G radios in them. That would make sense. The problem is it'll cost more money, and things like smart plugs, they're cheap. Okay, here's one. Thank you, Scooter X. Apparently, the guest network on the Google Nest Wi-Fi is only 2.4 gigahertz. I can't verify that, but Scooter X is pretty good, so use the guest network. In fact, that's not a bad idea to set up the guest network, not particularly for guests, but for IoT devices. There's actually a big issue with IoT devices on your Wi-Fi. Because IoT, these little, smart plugs, smart lights, voice assistants, routers, all the things that are attached to your network but aren't computers, are often buggy and rarely fixed. It's not unusual for them to have serious security flaws. We've seen this with smart lights, smart plugs. If they do have a flaw, this happened with the Hue lights. They fixed it, but the Hue lights a couple of years ago had a problem, which would allow a bad guy to get into your network. And this is the problem. If the IoT device becomes a bridge into your network, then a bad guy can get into your network. And once in your network, well, you can try stuff. So it's, in a way, it could be a gateway into your network and perhaps to other security problems. So in general, we want to keep those IoT devices isolated if we can. Some more sophisticated networking gear will allow you to create something called a virtual LAN that you could put it on, or a separate network, in effect, that you could put the IoT devices on, and then that would isolate them. There's problems with that, too, because it means you can't control them with your computers. So now you have to do a lot of messing around with firewalls and things like that. So it's complicated. Best thing to do is to get IoT devices that are modern and upgradable and patchable, and ideally patchable by the company without your interference. Ring doorbell had a problem a few years back. Before people found out about it, Ring was alerted to it. They sent a fix out. You didn't have to do anything. It fixed it automatically before it was revealed. When it was revealed, Ring could say, "This is great. Don't worry, we've already fixed it." That's what you want. You want a device that can be patched remotely by the company. Yeah, I'm looking at the chat room to see if they come up with anything else. Try the guest network. It doesn't completely isolate it, but at least if you put the IoT devices on the guest network and that works, that might be a good workaround. 8888 ask Leo if you think you've got a solution. If you're tuning in to hear our photography guy, Chris Marquardt, Chris is taking the day off today. He's going to visit his folks, so I always encourage that. But I do want to encourage you to continue to take pictures and, of course, participate in our photo assignment. Chris does this every month. He gives you a word or a concept or an idea, encourages you to go out to take pictures. If you find something you really like, you can upload it to Flickr. It's a free photo sharing site, flickr.com, and submit it to our Tech Guy group. And then once a month, Chris looks at all the submissions, and he will pick 3 to talk about on the radio. It's not a contest. There's no prize, but it is a chance to get out there and take more pictures. So our word of the month is messy. Take a picture that illustrates the word or idea messy. Upload it to Flickr, tag it TG Messy so we know it's for the Tech Guy, and submit it to the Tech Guy group. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will thank you for your submission, and I think we're about 2 weeks off from our photo review. Messy. Well, I'm going to tell you what that means. You just think about it. What would be a great picture of messy? Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. From South Detroit, the band Journey, the closing act at the, what is it, the iHeartMedia Music Fest? iHeartRadio Music Fest. I'm so confused. I don't even know the name of the company I work for. Is it media or is it radio? Who signs your paychecks? Radio? The company's called media. It's so confusing. I heart it no matter what. That's Journey. Do you know where South Detroit is, Professor Laura? It's Canada, which is a little weird. There is no South Detroit. It's Canada. Brian's on the line. He knows that because he's from Dearborn. Am I right?
You are right.
Dearborn is not South Detroit. It's south of Detroit.
I know there's a song that says that too, something about South Detroit.
Yeah, we were just playing it.
Yeah.
She's just a small town girl living in a big city world. He was a boy
North
from
Detroit.
South Detroit. North Detroit, but South Detroit's Canada.
Yep.
I'm glad I got an expert. It's great who can actually confirm my suspicions. What can I do for you, Brian?
Hi, I just wanted to add something to your last caller.
Yeah.
I used to run into that problem all the time with the...
Oh, the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz? Yeah, the IoT devices? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is true on all new routers, but I have a tri-band, and it could be possible on the dual band, but you're able to create your own separate Wi-Fi hotspots for those bands on each band. Like, I'll name one, the network 5G band.
Yeah, you can have one called 5G, like my Wi-Fi dash 5G, my Wi-Fi dash 2G.
Yeah. And then it fixes that problem because you can just, go to your 2.4 or go to your 5. Because I remember I have an Android and an iPhone, and the iPhone's like the 5G band, and there were always, when you had it trying to connect automatically, it was a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Like you guys were talking about. So,
in general, I like to have it be the same name so it can pick the band that works the best at the moment. But if this is a problem, unfortunately, and I didn't know this ahead of time, the Google Nest Wi-Fi does not allow you to do that.
Oh, that's
Your fabulous ASUS router or whatever you have does. But
it is an incredible router. I can't say enough about
Which one do you have?
Oh, it's kind of old now. It's probably about 5 years old, but it's one of the first tri-bands that came out.
Yeah. I had a feeling it was ASUS. I love those ASUS routers. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, the more options to me, the better. That's the only
exactly.
reason I don't like
They're geeky routers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. In fact,
you can overrule any problem you run into, basically.
I agree 100%. And that, unfortunately, is the problem with the Google Mesh Wi-Fi. In fact, I wasn't going to tell him, but I actually don't like the Google Mesh Wi-Fi for a number of reasons. I tried it for a while, and I didn't find it was all that good. ASUS is better. I gave the Google Mesh to my daughter. She's happy with it because she doesn't live in a big place. She only needs one base station, and she doesn't have this IoT problem. Yeah, this is why sometimes it's better to have a smarter router, and those ASUSes are very, very good.
Yep. I mean, it does. I got to give them credit for trying to make it easy for people that not into the whole tech thing. Some people don't even like it, don't even want to do it, don't want to set it up.
Well, I think that's exactly why Google doesn't do it. They don't want to confuse people.
Right.
But you and I, Brian, we like all those switches and knobs because of issues like this, so that we can do something about
it. Exactly. Because I like to be able to fix whatever the problem is.
Yeah, that's kind of the story of computing and technology in general.
Exactly. On any device. Because back in the day, I'm an old tech guy, like from the early 80s. And back then, everything was so universal. You could take anything you want and get it to work with anything else.
Yeah.
And as time went on, that became less and less.
Absolutely. And why? Because companies wanted to lock you in to their way of doing things, and it's too bad. Yeah.
But just thought I'd throw that tip.
I appreciate it, Brian. It's a great tip.
Compatible router.
Thank you. I love it when people call in with good answers, and it's great to talk to you. Anytime you hear something, Brian, call in.
Okay.
Appreciate it. And also, it's really nice to have somebody confirm that there's no South Detroit. That was a good coincidence. Born and raised in South Detroit. It's okay. Journey's from the Bay Area. They didn't know. They had no idea. They didn't know about Windsor. Let's go to Dallas, Texas. Craig is on the line. Hi, Craig.
Hello, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
I took your advice and signed up for Mint Mobile, and it's been fantastic.
Oh, good. Yeah, they're a sponsor of some of our podcasts. That's the one where Deadpool owns it. Ryan Reynolds. Yes.
Yes. You even get voicemails from him.
Do you?
From time to time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Recorded, but still.
Does he say this is Deadpool calling, or does he say this is Ryan?
He says Ryan.
Oh, good. Okay.
But ever since I signed up for it back in April, I have not received any security updates. So I'm still running the Android security update.
Did you get the phone from them, or did you bring your own?
I brought my own.
Okay. And what kind of phone is it?
It's a Galaxy Note 20 Ultra.
So this is complicated because the carrier does have some input because it's their bandwidth that gets used.
Right.
And so when a Android update, it starts with Google, and Google, because they created Android, they maintain it, they fix it. So Google pushes it out an update. And the first thing they do is they send it out to the phone companies that made the phone, like Samsung, because they want to make sure Samsung has to try it, make sure it works with Samsung and everything. Then Samsung changes it as necessary, approves it. Then it's their job to send it to the carriers, who then update your phone because it's over their network. And there is often a tug-of-war between the manufacturer, in this case Samsung, and the carrier, in this case Mint Mobile, over who pays for those updates. If you think about it, thousands of phones, these updates can be gigabytes in size. This could be a sizable expense. And there are some kind of vague rules that if it's a major update, like to Android 12 when it comes out, then the manufacturer pays for it. But the point updates, the security updates, and the carrier pays for it. So it is possible that Mint Mobile is blocking it. That would be a problem. I haven't heard about that. I suppose you can call. Have you called them?
Yeah, well, I got on chat with them.
Yeah.
And the person that I contacted, they didn't know anything about it. They said, we just provide connection. You know, that's it's at a higher pay grade than his, obviously. Yeah. They should be passing it along. I don't. That kind of bugs me. It is important that you have those updates. It may also be Samsung is not they're a little slow. The only phones I know that get updates in a timely fashion are Google's own phones because they're the manufacturer as well. It's probably hopeless to contact Samsung. Hang on, we're going to take a break. Let me see if I can find a way to do it manually. That might be the better solution. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So, let's see. You said an S21, right? That's the newest one? No, it's the Note 20.
It's the Note 20, so it's a year old.
Yes.
It should still be updated. I have the Samsung Flip, and it's I don't think it's on September yet, but it's definitely in August. It's not far behind. So let me see if there's a way to do this.
I did couldn't bring up anything. There was nothing online that I could find that explained how to do it. But.
Yeah, you definitely want to. I think you can do it manually. Okay, so here's a way to do it. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can use Samsung's Smart Switch, which is crazy. This is the software, it's Mac or PC. It's the software that they would use to switch phones. So you plug you use the USB cable that came with your phone if you still have that lying around. It may work, it may not work with all USB cables because you need data. So charging only cables won't work. So if you can find the phone cable, but otherwise try other USB cables, plug it into your computer, download Samsung's Smart Switch software. It'll detect the device, and if the update is available, the update button will appear. In other words, you're going to use your internet connection to download and update the phone. Bypass Mint.
That sounds good. We'll give that a try.
I'll put a link. Actually, we already got it in the chat room. James, if you'd put that link to the Samsung support page, it says software update via Smart Switch. So that is a good thing to know.
Okay. Separate, I also signed up for Expressvpn, but kind of concerned with their sale. Yeah, I am too.
We called them. They are. They say right now they're autonomous. Cape, their new owner, is not going to change anything about them, including their management. So they have assured me that their same policies are in place, that they're not going to change anything. Cape, which used to KAPE, used to be. They changed their name. They used to be a ad tech company. They pivoted a few years ago and bought. They've been buying up VPNs. it seems to be that they just want to be, they don't want to do ad tech, they want to be a security company. But I will monitor that carefully, obviously. I don't, you know, I use ExpressVPN too. And if there's any reason to think that they aren't if they're for some reason not on the up and up anymore, we'll just stop doing their ads.
Okay.
Yeah. But so far, I was concerned too. And we talked to them, and they said, no, everything's exactly the same. They're not changing anything. And it's the same management, all of that.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, but stay tuned.
Will do. Absolutely.
Thank you for supporting us by buying ad stuff. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it helps
Thanks
a lot.
for recommending good companies.
Thank you, Craig. Yeah, and I keep an eye on all this stuff. If a company's bad, we'll pay attention. Note 2, let me see on the update page on this. Identify the software diversion. So it looks like you might, there's a T-Mobile page. Mint Mobile is T-Mobile, but they're not owned by T-Mobile. They're an MVNO. So this is T-Mobile's solution. I think the thing to do is use Smart Switch. Then you're not reliant on anybody but Samsung. You have to get it from Samsung because, as you know, they don't use a standard Android. You know, they do their own thing. So Google makes the changes, and then Samsung has to modify it, and then they provide it. So they're a little behind Google's updates. But they do at least allow you to bypass the carrier and do the update. I'm going to mention that when we come back. I did not know it. And they are up to September on the Galaxy S20 or Note 20. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. If you hear something on the show and you want to know more, or you don't have to write it down. You don't have to remember any links. Just go to our website. It's there for you, free, no sign up, easy to use. There's a search, techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. All the show notes will be there. This is episode 1830. So you just go to that page. It'll be the first page you see if you go there this week. And then you can go into each hour, 1, 2, and 3. And in each hour, each segment, 1, 2, 3, and 4, find the question and the answer. There's text there. We even put audio and video from the show after the fact. So you can listen if you want to the question and the answer. TechGuyLabs.com. No sign up. It's absolutely free. Now, one thing we will put up there, Craig in Dallas was saying his Mint Mobile phone wasn't getting the Android security updates. Those are really important. Google puts those out every month. And as I said, Google puts them out, and on the Google phones, the Pixel phones, you'll get those updates almost immediately. But if your phone is made by somebody else, Motorola or Samsung or any one of the thousands of Android manufacturers, you have to get it after Google sends it to the manufacturer. The manufacturer checks it with those phones, modifies it if necessary, and then you can get it. And usually the way you get it is they'll then send it on to the carrier, and the carrier will pass it along to you. Sometimes carriers get in the way. Sometimes manufacturers get in the way. The best way to get Android updates is to get them directly from Google with a Google phone. But if you have a Samsung, for instance, you can also get it. Either wait till the carrier pushes it out to you, or we found out, we did a little research, you can manually install it. So Samsung has an app, Windows or Mac, called Smart Switch. Then, as the name implies, it's used to switch phones, to go from one Samsung to another, or go from an iPhone to a Samsung, that kind of thing. But it has another feature. When you use the cable that came with your phone, it won't work with just charging cables. You need data as well. Cable that came with your phone does that. Maybe another one does. You know, you try cables till it works. But once you plug the phone in your computer and run the software, if you've got the cable that works, your phone will pop up on the screen. It'll say, oh, I see your Samsung Note 20. Or whatever you're plugging in. And at that point, the Samsung software will go online, check for updates, and apply them to the phone. So you can bypass the carrier. The issue is, of course, the cost of bandwidth. Carriers, manufacturers, they tussle a little bit over who's going to pay for this. So this way you can go directly to Samsung and get it from them. So if you're not getting updates, and by now, you know, if you have a Samsung phone, you should be, well, the Note 20 should be getting the September update, this month's update. So if you don't have that yet, or if you're worse, as Craig was back in the spring, download Smart Switch. It's free. Put it on your computer, plug in your phone, and update it that way. You'll want the September update. These security patches are too important to ignore. These are not feature updates so much. They're not like the next version of Android. These are really about making your phone safe and secure. Both Apple and Google are pushing these out now at least monthly. I think Apple pushes them out sometimes every other day. Tomorrow, we're supposed to get the new iOS 15 for your iPhone, if your iPhone's recent enough. I think iPhone 7 and later will get that. Maybe the 6S will get it too. And iPadOS will be updated to 22. Maybe watchOS and tvOS. I think usually all of them get updated. That's supposed to happen tomorrow, September 20th. But because Apple had a big security problem, a zero-day exploit that was being used by the NSO group to hack phones, they pushed out an update earlier this week on Tuesday. Even though they've got a big update coming less than a week later, they wanted to fix this right away. So that's the important thing. These fixes, these security updates are really important. In fact, if you've got an iOS device or an iPad device, make sure you've got it up to date. The current version, I think, is 14.8. Let me check real quick. You want to get those updates when you can. Yeah, 14.8. And as I said, 15 will be coming on Monday. Tony on the line next from Anderson, South Carolina. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Mr. Leo. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome.
I first came across your paths back on, I was probably in middle school in the late 90s on Tech TV and Call for Help and the Screensaver.
Did I turn you into a geek?
Well, I was actually adopted when I was 10 from kind of a fairly rough home situation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good home life.
Well, I'm glad you got a good family. That's good.
Yeah, well, the first Christmas, they bought me a computer and tore it up. Don't know what I did with it, but I was hooked for life.
Oh, that's awesome. Boy, you lucked out, didn't you? That's a great story. You stay in touch with your foster family, your adoptive family?
I actually live next door to them.
Oh.
Me and my wife and 4 kids, we live next door. They were actually my babysitters.
Oh.
And without getting into a whole nother story, my stepdad actually killed my mom when I was a child, and my babysitters adopted me.
Oh, my God.
So, I got a lot to owe them.
God.
Just my first computer, but even just giving me a chance in life. So,
well, Tony, from a horrific story to a happy ending, I'm so glad you got a good family. That's really good. And they got you they made you a geek. Actually, it sounds like you were ready to be. It sounds like you were ready to be a geek when you got it.
Yeah, they didn't have a clue how to use it, but they thought I needed one.
What was that first computer they got you?
Compact Presario. Had Windows 95 on it.
And you watched Tech TV to learn what to do and all that stuff?
Yeah, watch what to do. Didn't teach me what not to do because I killed the thing. Had to go buy a new one.
That's okay. That's part of the process. Sounds like your babysitters were pretty nice people. They took good care of you. I'm so happy.
Very good.
Yeah.
Willing to be my parents, so you can't ask for anything more than that.
Oh.
So along those lines, real quick serious comment, then a question for you. The serious comment, obviously I have faced death more than most people in life. And you had a caller last week, and then I caught the tail end of it on yesterday's program of people calling in asking you to help them to access data from loved ones who have passed away.
Yeah.
It's a situation for those to be in. And obviously, most people aren't planning to die unexpectedly. But I'm actually back in graduate school now working on a master's degree. Hopefully, I'm a youth pastor now. Hopefully,
that's wonderful.
Be in my role one day.
You're paying it forward. Tony, I'm going to cry. It's beautiful.
Don't cry.
Yeah.
So one of my MDiv classes, I wrote a paper on a biblical theology of technology this past semester. And actually in that paper, I incorporated me looking at it from a Christian perspective, how that if we don't back up our data and make it accessible to those we leave behind us, now I'm not painting a broad brush because not everybody knows how to do this, but if we know how to pass that data down in a format where it can be accessible to our loved ones and we don't, I made the argument that that's actually bad stewardship on our part. If we've got all these memories and photos and all this cherished data that would mean the world to my grandkids and great-grandkids. And if I don't take 15 minutes to make a file and write down usernames and passwords, you know, nobody wants to say this, but hey, that's bad on my part. So from a stewardship perspective, we really should be able to pass that data down to our loved ones. But
I love that perspective, Tony. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's really beautiful. You're exactly right. It's a duty.
Yeah. If I've got baby pictures and wedding photos and my personal journal and, you know, all that stuff.
You're the steward of it. Yeah. And it's not yours. It's your children's and your grandchildren's. Take good care of it.
And if all it takes is 8 to 12 characters that they don't know to keep them from that forever, well, man, I need to make sure that they have a way to get that after I'm gone.
Oh,
so while I was doing some studying for my technology paper for my MDiv, kind of leading up to it and then actually preparing for it, I read Walter Isaacson's book on Steve Jobs.
What a great book, huh?
And actually worked at the Apple Store back in 2010 for a short time. So I love technology. But so I was really fascinated with that book, and then I'm about halfway through his book on the innovators, kind of overlooking, you know, most of modern computer history. And I was just curious, just from your decades in this field, if I end up pastoring, if I end up doing some more graduate work, looking at technology from a religious perspective or whatever, it doesn't have to be religious, but if you could just off the top of your head think of maybe 2, 3, 5 books that just impact you to say, yeah, if I could recommend these books to somebody from a, you know, not get into the details of coding or this, that, and the other, but just generally overviewing or the impact or the implications or whatever of technology and its history and its use, what top few books come to mind for you?
That's a great question. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, I haven't read The Innovators yet. I did read his Steve Jobs biography, and I thought I was quite inspired by that. So there's a category of books like that that are biographical or historical, and there's some really excellent books about the history of computing. I'll give you a couple that I like. One of my favorites is called Hackers. It's not about bad guy hackers. It's about the early days of the MIT computer hackers, the people who really created modern computing. It's by a guy named Stephen Levy, who is a great journalist. In fact, we're going to have him on one of our shows next week. He's a smart guy.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, Stephen Levy's great. He still writes for Wired. Hackers is a great book. And then there's another classic by a guy named Tracy Kidder, Kidder, that's called The Soul of a New Machine. And this is old history, but it's about the creation of a microcomputer by Data General. It goes back, you know, to before the days of the personal computer. But I think that it's important to know the roots of all this. So those are good books for the roots. There's another book that isn't about history, but is, I think, important to understanding why modern technology is so revolutionary. It's called Microcosm, and it's by a guy named George Gilder, Gilder. He explains why this technology has changed the world. And it's an interesting thing because, you know, until chips came along, stuff didn't get smaller and cheaper. It got smaller and more expensive. You know, a smaller phone, a smaller watch, those are more expensive. But in the world of the microcosm, of microprocessors, it turns out that the smaller they get, the more efficient, the faster, the less heat, and the less they cost. So that kind of inverse relationship between size and cost is a key element to understanding why technology has advanced so rapidly we can't even adjust to that. And then there are, I'm sure, a number of good books that would probably be more to the point for your master's degree about computer ethics. I'll have to think a little bit about that. Those are going to be more modern books. I think I love that you're doing it because technology is inherently amoral. It's not immoral. It's not moral. It has no ethics. It has no morality. It just is. And it can be used for good or ill. And I think too many times we just embrace technology because it's new and it's fast and it's exciting, and we don't think about the consequences. And so I think it's really important to have an ethical basis as you use technology so that we do use it for good and not ill.
Yeah,
and even in my field, and I don't have a problem admitting it, I am a fairly conservative Christian. But what I find a lot of times in my neck of the woods around the people I hang out with, they think every new invention is the mark of the beast. And here I am, a few years ago working for Apple for a short time, incorporating all this stuff into my daily, not just daily rituals, even my daily religious rituals. And I'm screaming, hey, these things are gifts. These are gifts of common grace that we can use for good. And while they may, just like anything else, may be used for evil, if an object is all moral, well, at least in my worldview, I have a responsibility to use it for a moral reason. So
exactly,
a lot of these churches down in the South, they're kind of real hesitant on technology, but there's people like me screaming from the sidelines saying, "Hey, I can use that iMac for good. It's not bad."
I don't know if you heard yesterday. I had a caller from Mississippi who said, I don't want anything with 5G in it because because she's worried about it causing cancer or maybe COVID. Yeah. And I don't want anything from Apple because they don't match my moral ethics. And
hey, I worked at Apple.
Yeah, I don't think they're unethical. I think they're actually a pretty ethical company. But it is important that we think about this. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't think of a good book about ethics and technology. If you come up with one, call me back and let me know. There are quite a few of them. There's one book I liked a lot by a woman who's been on our shows named Kathy O'Neill. She's a math professor, and it's actually it might be a good. It's a little bit of a tangential, but it's called The Weapons of Math Destruction, and it's how misunderstanding mathematics can cause AI and other things to misbehave. It's a very good book. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. What a pleasure talking to you, Tony. Man, you have triumphed over a lot of adversity.
Yeah, it was 1994. I was a 10-year-old kid, and
horrible.
We're on a break now. Aren't we?
Yeah, we're on a break. Yeah, I mean, I should tell you, we're not private. There's a podcast and there's people listening, but it's not on the radio.
Yeah. So March 22nd, 1994, I'm a 10-year-old boy. Years of abuse from me, but between my stepdad and my mom. So he shoots and kills her, and I go to live with my babysitters that night 6 days after that. So here I am at 10 years old. My mom's 49 years old. 6 days after that, I go back to school that Monday, and I'm at school for like an hour or two. And my new adopted family come get me out of school, bring me home, and I'm like, what the world's going on? And some of my biological family is there with my new adoptive babysitter family. And I can still, I'm 37 now, and I can still picture it that day, probably March the 28th, 1994. And my babysitter mama, she said, "Tony, we need to tell you something." And she said, "Judy wasn't your mother." And I started crying.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, "Who is my mother?" And then at that point, my 30-year-old, quote, sister starts crying.
Oh, my gosh.
Out that day that my sister, it sounds kind of like a Ray Stevens song, but I found out that my
your
mother
sister's your mother.
Grandmother. Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
my gosh.
My very next question to her was, well, then who's my daddy? And she didn't know.
She didn't know, but you know what? At least it wasn't that jerk. Holy cow. That is a wild story. Yeah,
so now I'm a youth pastor and so the house I lived in from 10 to 21, I call them my babysitters just to keep the story straight, but my new family. A few years after me and my wife got married, that house next door to them actually come open.
Oh, you had to buy it. You had to buy it. Oh,
watching my kids run next door to Papa and Mama. Back with bags.
Somebody was looking out for you. Somebody was looking out for you.
Yeah, and I think we, in my neck of the conservative Christian world, we're so quick to scream idolatry or evil or sinful. I look at these modern technologies, and yeah, of course they can use them for child porn or whatever else. But just because somebody else is using something for evil doesn't mean we have to shun the whole technology.
No, I mean you could say that about currency, about money, about a lot of things, right? I think this is really important stuff you're doing because it could go the other way. And so it's important to say, no, you can add ethics to technology and make it ethical. But you have to have an ethical foundation.
Yeah, my professor seemed to be kind of pleased with it wasn't a class on technology, it was Bible theology. And I asked him if I could write about technology from a theological perspective. And I went through a history of the Old Testament, New Testament advances of technology, and then I showed how we can make direct application to that in our lives. One of those being back your stuff up and make sure your loved ones can get it.
I love it.
Gone.
I love it.
He told me to keep working on it and see what comes of it in the years ahead. So I'd like to.
I've always felt like, I mean, I guess you could say Satan gave us stuff. So that's not in my worldview. I feel like if God gives you stuff, he doesn't lead you by the nose. You have to, it's an opportunity for you to choose the right? And so take this as an opportunity and then examine what is the right thing to do. Not just throw it away and say, no, that doesn't, that doesn't work. And I think everything is God-given. So
like the caller you had yesterday, I try to be patient and sympathetic. I don't know if sympathetic's right. Maybe understanding, but maybe
I gotta run, Tony. Great to talk to you. Really a pleasure. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. Linda's on the line from L.A. Hello, Linda.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
So, about 5 months ago, I bought a brand new HP 15-inch computer.
Okay.
And everything was fine. And probably within the 2 weeks of having it, maybe 3 weeks, I started to get this red and green graphic that would show up on the screen, and it would freeze the computer.
Does it say things, or is it just blobs of red and green?
It's like a red and green graph pattern over the entire screen.
Yeah, that's called defective.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So I don't realize it. I turn the computer off.
Yeah.
I turn it back on. It's gone.
Yeah.
I go about my business.
And then it comes back.
But 3 or 4 weeks later, not right away.
Yeah. So there's some component. There's some component. It's almost certainly hardware. There's some hardware component that is on the edge, and maybe it heats up a little bit, and then it goes off the edge or something. It's probably your video card. It is possible that you have a bad display driver. There's software that communicates between the computer and the screen. They call that the display driver. And if that were flaky, that also could be part of the problem. But it's been doing this since the day you brought it home, right? I mean, it's a new computer.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And so I bought it at Costco, and I called Costco, and I went through all of the motions of checking things. They couldn't find it.
Return it. They have an excellent return policy. You don't have to justify it. That's one of the reasons it's good to buy it from Costco. Get another one.
Here's the deal. I was over 90 days.
Ugh. Well, HP still has to fix it. You have a 1-year warranty. There is something wrong with it. It's hard to know if it's software or hardware. HP is going to make you reinstall Windows. They're going to make you wipe the drive and reinstall Windows, trying to see if it's a software issue. But if it continues, even after you reinstall Windows, it's a hardware issue. And ultimately, HP has to fix it because it's a lemon. It's bad. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
HP.
Sorry?
I sent it to HP, and they're telling me that it was my fault.
Your fault?
They said I dropped it. They said I dropped it, and the motherboard needs to be replaced.
It's not, but did you drop it?
Charge me? No, never dropped it.
So you got to fight this because you didn't drop it, and they're just trying to palm it off on you.
And they're trying to charge me more than what I paid for the computer.
Oh, my God. That's appalling. No, that's not okay. You didn't drop it. It was defective.
That's my, yeah.
So they're confirming, by the way, my suspicion that it was a hardware issue. The video driver or something's wrong with it. The video card, rather. So they need to fix it. Say, no, it was this way when I came home with it. And, boy, I don't know what your recourse is anyway, but that's terrible customer service. It is not your fault. You didn't drop it.
I know.
Is there any outer damage? Is there any evidence on the outside of it being dropped?
Nothing.
No.
Nothing. The only thing I can think of is I had the computer was shipped to me. So I don't know if something happened in the shipping.
Not your fault. It's not your fault. If that's the case, the HP has to go to the shipper, but it's not your fault. It came damaged. Now, I would go back to Costco and say, no, this is damaged. You may be able to get them to take it back, even if HP won't.
I don't know. I already called them, and they told me since it's over 90 days, there's nothing I can do. I mean, I'm in it so badly, and I don't know whether I should replace the motherboard and just keep it, or I should just bag it and buy a new computer.
No, this is HP's fault. This is awful. You need to escalate it with HP. This is a pain in the butt, but it is not your fault. You didn't drop it. Maybe it was damaged in shipping, but there is no external evidence of it being dropped. They cannot assert that you dropped it. It was defective when it arrived, and so it's their responsibility.
Okay. Well,
don't pay him to fix it.
Well, no, I didn't. I had them send it back to me, and they told me I could have a $125 credit to buy a new computer. That's how it ended. I went as far up as I could go. I've gone so far now to see if I can stop payment through my bank.
Good. Your credit card might be the best way to do this.
So that's what I'm trying now.
So I will back you up. That's clearly not your fault. It's defective. There's no evidence of it being dropped. They have no evidence it was dropped. There's no dings on it or anything like that, right?
Nothing.
So they're just deciding they don't want to pay for it. But it's their, maybe it's the shipper. Go ahead and contact the shipper. Now, I still would pursue it with Costco. I would say I'm getting, upgrade. Costco is going to back it up. One of the reasons you buy stuff from Costco is because they actually bend over backwards to take care of you. So escalate it with Costco. Say, look, HP is saying it's my fault. I got it shipped from you. Maybe the shipper dropped it. I did not. There's nothing. It was not my fault. It's a defective computer. I think they're going to replace it. It's really in their interest to do that.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That stinks.
Hey, thank you so much for talking to me and giving me the strength to now go fight more.
Fight him, Linda. You take it to the man. Show him.
I have to tell you something, and I know you probably have to go back, but I work in Hollywood as a casting director, and the reason I started listening to you is that you have the most loveliest voice.
Hey, if you ever want to use me in a movie, I'm available.
I'll keep that in mind, certainly.
Watch the video. I'm a good-looking older man. You ever need any character actors? Hey, it's a pleasure talking to you, Linda.
Take good care, Leo.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, fight this because it's not your fault. It's really their fault. They need to fix it. In fact, call me next. If you don't get satisfaction, we're going to embarrass them on national radio. You call me next week. We'll embarrass the hell out of them.
You got it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a terrific rest of your show.
You too, Linda. Do you do TV? You do films or TV?
Both. I do both. I would do TV and movies.
How fun. I always wanted to be an actor, but I ended up getting into radio because I didn't want the rejection. Gotta run, Linda. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
He's my rocket man. Spaceman Rod Pyle is here, author Space 2.0, editor-in-chief of Ad Astra magazine. Get a copy at space.nss.org. First on the Moon. Is that the name of it, Rod?
That is.
First on the Moon, my favorite coffee table book, all about Apollo 11. Well, it's got great pictures, great text. I love it.
Yeah.
Rod, it's good to talk to you.
That's an honor. Thank you.
It's been a good space week.
It's good to talk to you, and it has. Just a quick note about your last call.
Yes.
I don't want to be on the other end of a phone call from an angry casting director, because I worked with a lot of casting directors when I was working on TV, and they are not people that you want to put something over on. So those guys better look out.
I have a feeling Linda is going to take it to him, and she should.
I think so.
She should.
Yeah, that's a horrible story. And I think you're right. Costco has got to kind of just
They're pretty good about this. The fact that HP is blaming her for something that didn't happen is unconscionable.
Yeah.
Unconscionable.
Nasty business. So let's talk Inspiration 4 briefly. I've got 2 stories this week, Inspiration 4 and Planet X. But Inspiration 4 came back Saturday night at a little after 7 Eastern time.
Awesome?
You probably saw it.
I was not inspired by Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson going up and down, but I was totally excited about Inspiration 4. They raised $200 million for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. They were civilians in space, and they did it, and it was perfection. Perfection.
And let's just make sure we acknowledge Elon Musk for donating that last $50 million.
$50 million.
Because he filled the gap.
Because he basically gave Jared Isaacman back his $50 million and gave it to St. Jude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or whatever he paid.
Good for Elon. We don't know.
More than 50, but yeah, I mean, this is great PR. And Bezos, to his credit, you know, he's been doing some really good PR work. He gave the NSS money and a number of other groups. And he did congratulate Elon on the flight, but it's still dicey between those two. But I have to tell you, I was sitting in my car because I was out when the landing was happening, and I was watching on my phone, space.com, watch it come back. And so the moment for me, great mission, loved everything about it, but the moment for me was when those parachutes opened, because that's kind of the last place where you can have a real problem, right?
I wasn't going to say anything. I watched the Netflix documentary, which is really good. It's still going on, called Countdown.
Yeah.
I was chewing my nails because those 4 people were beautiful people. I feel like they were kind of going, I mean, I'm sure their eyes were open, but especially the 29-year-old.
Are we going to the moon?
Yeah. It's scary. I think they were taking a bigger chance maybe than they really acknowledged. They put their life in Elon's hands.
If you've been watching that program, the development of the Crew Dragon for all these many years, they had a lot of trouble with those parachutes. They had a fair amount of trouble with the abort engine. It was really the parachutes. I mean, we're talking almost 30 major tests, helicopter drops, flights, you name it. I think they went from 3 parachutes to 4 early on. But even with that Mark III design, which is what they're using now, they had a lot of problems.
I was biting my nails.
We've been doing parachutes from space since 1960 with humans, 61.
Yeah.
You know, Gemini and Mercury used single parachute. Apollo used 3. We did have one flight, Apollo 15, where one opened and then collapsed because it got hit by a fuel dump. But, you know, as I've said before on the air with you, parachutes, if you talk to engineers, they're just like wild animals. You know, you try to model them with software all you can, but they just don't behave in the real world. So I'm so glad they got it right. And this really feels like we've got, and I don't want to jinx anything by being premature, but this feels like we're real finally on the leading edge of reliable access to space for everybody, ultimately, with a machine that just works. They're going to probably use this same capsule again for the Axiom flight that's going up early next year, which has got an astronaut, Michael Alegria Lopez, flying it with 3 passengers. But this will be the 3rd or 4th use of this thing. So this is just remarkable stuff.
I just want to volunteer. If they ever need a 5th guy, I don't know. I can hold. I can hold the iPads for him or whatever. I'm just.
So you want to be an actor and an astronaut now? Is that it?
Basically, I'm living my 5-year-old dreams. I'm a kid.
Live the dream.
I'm living my dream.
Yes.
I always wanted to be an astronaut. I would do it in a heartbeat, even knowing the risk, because it's risky. But they did it. Good job.
Well, and the thing now is with you and me, you know, we're kind of in Act 3 or Act 4 or Act 7 or whatever it is of life. And as much as I'm a little more conservative than I was as I was younger, I have fewer years left to lose now. So it kind of makes more sense.
I've done everything I want to do
it now, right?
Yeah. In fact, you know, there've been some talk about a one-way trip to Mars. I would volunteer for that. I don't need to come back. I can.
Yeah, but have you looked at Mars lately?
I know it's not. I know.
A little grim. So, hey,
what's Planet X? What are you talking about?
We have left?
Oh, we got 2 and 3 minutes.
Planet X.
Yeah.
So,
what's that?
Okay, new study come back. You know, I always look for new studies on the archives and so forth. And the study came back where they had looked at and identified a bunch of new trans-Neptunian objects. So these are chunks of rock in the outer solar system beyond the orbit of Neptune. And since Pluto's no longer technically a planet, it's considered one of these things. So this is out in the Kuiper Belt. And they look specifically at 400 something of them. and said, a bunch of these have really weird orbits. And we're talking about, they're charting stuff that's between 3 and 4 billion miles with a B out there. So this is not a trivial thing. And they're looking at these orbits and saying, if they're just being affected by the sun and Neptune, we expect this kind of orbit. And if they're being affected just by the sun because they're far enough away from Neptune that they're not affected, because Neptune's pretty large, but they're not affected by its gravitation, they should be in a rough ellipse. But they've got these wacko orbits, and they're trying to plot these things collectively to say, okay, clearly there's some mass out there that's affecting how these orbit. Now, it could be
that they don't see
just
it.
The cumulative.
They just see the effects of it.
The effects of it. So it's this kind of, inductive kind of logic, intuitive logic you have to use, which is big in astrophysics. It could be the collective effects of just a lot of other loose junk out there, kind of acting like a clump. But it could also be this big dark planet that they've been kind of hypothesizing for decades. So if that happens, we'll finally have a ninth planet again. Wouldn't that be cool?
They're calling it Planet 9.
They
got to come. They can't call it Pluto because that's taken.
No, but I like Planet X better because Bugs Bunny cartoons use that.
Yeah.
And it sounds kind of mysterious and nefarious. Or what was the name of Nibiru? I think was one of the names they came up with for
there's a precedent for this
planet out there
in science. If you can't explain how something's happening, you think maybe there's some, for instance, dark matter. We can't see it, but we can't explain what's the phenomena we see without something like that. In the early days, people thought there was ether, that light went through the air, and there was something. They eventually, Michelson and Morley proved it wasn't, but that was the variable. That was X that they filled in to make sense of all the measurements. Right. And so there's a long-standing tradition of this. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it's just a bunch of stuff with rough lips. But that's what you said, right? It had rough lips.
Rough lips.
Yeah. I'm just being silly.
I know, but you're right. And I mean, so much of, and again, being involved with this JPL book again this year, I read these stories, and we'll talk more about them once they release them, because they still have to go through a legal review and all that for release. There's so much stuff in there where you follow the steps they take backwards from the data to get to something that makes sense. Yeah. And it just makes my hair curl.
I love science.
Because they're really, really smart.
Yeah. Smart people doing smart stuff.
Yeah.
Like this guy, Rod Pyle. He and I are going to Mars. The author of Space 2.0, editor-in-chief at Astra, space.nss.org. Thank you, Rod. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Are you on a phone?
The audio okay this time?
It was a little choppy.
Was it? Yeah, I'm down on the boat just for this weekend.
Yeah, it's a little choppy.
And I tested my. Did it? Okay, I tested my speed, and it seemed to be okay. It was
the biggest issue is there's a lag, so you're hearing me a second or two later, which makes it a little weird. But hey, it worked. We got it done.
Well, I'll be for the first time next week. I'll be on my new Ethernet line up to my office. So finally, I'll have wire. Yeah,
maybe we'll have video again. That would be nice.
That would be fun. That's the intention.
Oh, good.
And I found a very nice guy who drilled holes and crawled around the roof and cleared out the hornets and did everything he had to do to get the wire in. Yeah,
awesome.
So it was, but as we discussed, it's surprisingly hard to find people willing to run Ethernet in your house, especially if it's a townhouse.
Yeah. I'm glad you got it done, though.
And you got to hide it behind pipes.
Oh, you're going to love it. You are going to be so happy that you did it.
I'm just going to be happy that it works for your show. Primarily.
I don't think about internet anymore. I really don't. It's really good. Hey, I got to run. But okay. Thank you, Rod. We'll
see you next week on Wire.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for letting me be your tech guy. I appreciate it. Thanks to Professor Laura, our musical director, and she and her baton keep us dancing. Thanks to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel. She answers all your calls. Thanks most of all to those of you who call in and share your life stories with me. And all of us, I appreciate that. And thanks to all of you who listen, and couldn't do it without you. So let's do it all again next week, shall we? What do you say? Carlos is on the line from Hawthorne, California. Hi, Carlos.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
What can I do for you?
Yeah, I'm having a problem with my PC. It's a Windows 10 PC. Everything's relatively new, about a year old. I changed the motherboard out, put new RAM in there, and everything's fine. And 6 months later, all of a sudden I started getting the PC all of a sudden shutting down at 10:43 every night.
Wait a minute. It's always the same time?
Always same time. I went into the task scheduler to see if there was something in there. Couldn't find anything, so I'm at a loss. I don't know what it is.
Well, is your house? Is it an older house? Do you have a lot? Do you have where have many generations lived there? Perhaps some distant generations coming back and haunting your machine? No, I'm just kidding. It's not that. So first of all, you might want to look in BIOS because some PCs do have schedulers built into the setup. You know that thing when you hit F2 or F12 and you go in there, check and make sure there's no scheduler there as well.
Okay.
It's not powering. It's not related to how long you've used it or how long it's been on. It's always 10:43 p.m.
Exactly. And I mean, I baby the computer. I have a what is it called? A line conditioner.
Oh, it's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with your computer. It's software. I mean, it's got to be. In fact, you could test it by changing the time on your computer and seeing if it thinks it's 10:43, but it's really 8:43 and still shuts down. Then you'd know for sure. Chat room saying look at the system logs or the console log because you should see an event and you could see what event was it triggered the shutdown. It's nice that you know exactly when because you could just go right back to that point in the log. So it may be other things are triggering the shutdown. The other thing that could be is the UPS that you're on. Does it have a USB connection to the computer as well?
No, it's actually not a UPS. It's just a line conditioner. It's just power.
Because sometimes UPSs, they have USB connections, and they can converse with the computer about shutting down and stuff. So I thought maybe it was telling it to shut down. No, that's not it. So click Start, type Event Viewer, and look at all of the events and see what happened at 10:43.
Okay. Yeah.
That'll give you some idea.
Every night.
Yeah. That's really...
Especially when I forget about it and I'm doing something and all of a sudden it says shutting down.
Oh, I hate that.
Great.
I mean, you were right to look at the task scheduler, but there are other things that could do that. So you want to figure... That's why it's hard to figure out. So I would look and see if the event viewer has an entry around there. It might say, it might give you a hint as to what's going on. It's got to be software. If it's not the BIOS and it's not the system itself, look in your power settings. But it's going to be in BIOS. It's going to be, or rather, in software somewhere. And it's just a question of figuring out what program. I love that.
Reinstalling Windows. If I can't find anything in the BIOS, just reinstalling Windows. You think that'll help?
Yeah, possibly. I don't think you should have to. I think that's kind of the extreme solution. It would fix it probably, but here's one that Retcon 5, who's an IT guy for a very well-known filmmaker, won't say who, says try this command on the command line: power CFG, power config, POWER CFG space / sleep study. That will give you a report. You actually can find it on the hard drive as well. But that'll give you a report about what's going on when it slept and why. And that might help as well. So these are all useful diagnostics that people don't normally look at the event viewer or the sleep study, but that's a useful thing to know about.
Great.
I love it.
Now, Leo, if I could ask you just one quick question.
Sure.
Is the reason I put this computer together is because I really I enjoy using Flight Simulator 2020. The thing is, I'm using it and I don't have it maxed out at all the graphics, but all of a sudden I'll get out of memory, or it gives me some kind of a memory fault, and I can't figure it out. I have a really good processor, plenty of RAM. A good recommended video card. I don't know what it is.
Run a memory test on it. Sometimes there's one in BIOS, but if not, you can download. There's a lot of various memory tests. Memtest is the one I use. See if you may have a bad RAM chip.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
That happens.
Okay.
You can also reseat the RAM. Sometimes if RAM is a little jiggly, it can do that.
Okay.
Hey, let me know, Carlos. I'd love to know. It's a mystery. 1043. What happened at 1043? Was that when Lincoln was shot? I don't know. That computer, I don't know. Windows 10 comes with a useful little feature called Sleep Study Report. And it's part of the modern standby state. And that's what Retcon is referring to. And you can actually run this sleep study and see what's going on to get the report. I guess you have to be an admin to do it. So you want the elevated command prompt. You want to run it as admin, and then powerconfig/sleep study. It'll create a report for the last 3 days analyzed by the sleep study. Very useful. Thank you, Matthew. That's a good tip. I can't believe we're out of time. Time goes so fast. I'm sorry I didn't get to you, Dr. Bird. He wanted to talk about photography. It's my favorite subject. Let's do it next week, Dr. Bird. All right? Call in early. We'll get you on at the beginning of the show. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. I'll see you next time. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.